Hi guys, welcome to practice. This week we are looking at mindful movement in the form of walking. So it's practice 14 in my book, 100 Mindfulness Meditations, mindfulness of walking practice. And as you know, in mindfulness, we have both formal practices and informal practices. Your formal practice is your seated meditation, which maybe you do in the morning or the evening. Your informal practices are it's basically life, but it could be walking, it could be washing your hands, it could be showering, it could be mindful speech, it could be mindful relating, it could be anything. And essentially that comes from the fact that we don't practice mindfulness to get good at mindfulness. We practice mindfulness to get good at life. And therefore our practice is this thing which we kind of nurture and gather within our own personal, private, formal practice time. But then that's kind of what we're taking out into the world. That's the vibration that we're sharing and that we're taking into our workplace, into our family, into our intimate relationships, into our conversations, and all of those types of things. So a mindful walking practice is a really nice one because we have to walk around every day, get about, and it's a really easy one to kind of bring some mindful awareness to it. And I say it's easy, actually it's quite tricky to remember to do this, but it's a fairly simple practice when we do remember to do it. So even if it's the distance between, for example, the tube and getting to the office door, or if it's between your desk and going to that important meeting, or on your way from the tube back to your front door at home, so you've kind of put yourself into a mindful state to greet your partner or the dog or the family or whatever. It's that kind of practice. So with this one, I'm not going to be walking around, but I am going to guide the practice, and I'm envisaging that you might be listening to this and in your own space somewhere useful, either out in the world or in your own home space, following the practice, but you'll be in movement, you'll be walking around. Okay, so if you're ready to join me in practice, I'm going to start seated, but I'm going to suggest that you start standing. And instead of closing your eyes, which may not be appropriate for the environment that you're in, just allow the eyes to drop forward, the gaze to soften. So your gaze is cast down towards the floor, and it's just a soft gaze, so you can see everything that's in your immediate environment, but you're not focusing particularly on one thing or another. You just have a sense of where you're going. If you're obviously out in the world or traversing the streets of your city or village or town, you may need to cast your eyes more normally upwards just to make sure you're not going to bump into anything or anyone. So make sure that whatever you're doing is safe for the environment that you're in. And then as you walk, what we want to do is to visit the awareness that we normally encapsulate in our mind and our thinking. We want to visit that awareness down to our feet, almost as if we're giving our feet the driving seat for not just the motion, but for the awareness of the practice. So as we feel our feet on the ground, and perhaps we're taking our first steps slowly forward now, just want to get a sense of feeling each footstep, noticing which part of the foot makes contact with the ground first and last. And as you make contact with the ground, just getting a sense of the weight of your body as it shifts from the left to the right and back again. Now this is a very automatic action that the body knows how to do, and sometimes when we bring mindful awareness to it, we can start to feel a little bit clumsy, and the thinking about it or bringing awareness to it can sometimes make those actions harder. So just Feel that balance. Allow it to be exactly as it is. We're not trying to walk well. We're not trying to walk in any particular type of way. We're just getting a sense of the sensations of walking, of feet on the ground, that sense of movement. And as we do this, if we're in an enclosed environment, maybe you'll fall into a little pattern, maybe walking in a circle or a figure of 8 or around a piece of furniture. Wherever you find yourself, see if you can bring a sense of presence to the fullness of the body as you walk. We find it fairly difficult to generate presence, so present moment awareness. Even in mindfulness practice, we have many things to distract us, not least the thoughts running around inside our heads. So generating presence as we move can be tricky, so just be compassionate with yourself as you do this. And if you find yourself getting distracted, just come back to the body, come back to the sense of feet on the ground, moving forward. And as you drop into the practice a little deeper, just slow down the movement forward just a little bit. Whatever feels safe and appropriate wherever you are. Slow the motion down. And just notice what happens. Can you get an even better sense of what's happening in the muscles of the foot, the ankle, the lower leg, the upper leg? Notice all of the complexity and nuances of the physical body and this physical action of walking. And as the feet make contact with the ground, see if you have an intention or a message to share with yourself or with the ground, which symbolizes the support in our lives. Continue onwards, and now perhaps see if you can bring a little bit more speed to the walking whilst holding on to the same sense of intention and presence and compassionate awareness of yourself. So if we get distracted, just gently coming back to the sensations of walking, being in motion. And then just coming back to a gentle pace. Noticing that every single footstep of your entire life has brought you to this point. And when you get the impulse to do so, just come to a stop. And as you arrive in this place, in this moment now, getting a sense that this is exactly where you need to be. Breathing into this present moment and opening your eyes. Thank you for joining me in practice. See you next week.